Hello, hello, hello. Not sure we have anybody here. Oh, we do have a couple people coming into the live broadcast. Okay. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 615 on this post-election, alongside Pretty But What?
Loco.
Go! Kodi,
Hello,
Maurice,
darling.
Doggette.
Hello, darling. Oh, what a
Ah, let's
day.
just let's all just take a big inhale and a big. We're going to do it again. Let's all people are coming in.
Okay, wrong.
Let's take another inhale. We're gonna get through the show. It's really good. Okay, well, we all know by now the sad outcome that was the loss of Kamala Harris to Donald Trump. I can't believe it. If you looked at I do a media blast. By the way, if you want to get on that, you can subscribe and you will get my media blast that goes out every Wednesday. I talk about this show and other things that are that we are talking about, and it goes out every week. So you can go to TAGSPodcast.com and just subscribe. There is probably the best way to do that. But in my note to everybody today, I was really telling everybody how I woke up this morning. I went to bed. I've been a little under the weather from Vakaya last week. And then I watched the election thinking very positively. And as we all know, it just seemed to go south and south. And I went to bed, I believe, Kodi, about midnight.
Yeah.
But not a great feeling. I talked to my boyfriend and he was like, it's not looking good for him. I'm like, I know, stop it. And then I went to sleep and woke up at 6 a.m. and saw they were already talking about the Senate race. And I'm like, why are they talking about that right now? What about They're like, because we already know the general election. And then I happened to look at the bottom of the screen, which said all the electoral votes for him and not for her, and I was crushed. And it's 6 a.m. I kept the news on just in the background as I was just like tossing and turning and just really having my pity party for the next 2 hours until I finally got up around 8:30. And something happened in me that just said, oh no, you have a platform for a marginalized community. It's really easy to talk about things when things are going your way, but the people need us more than ever in tougher times, and that use your platform. And somehow I shook it off and I immediately sat down and wrote my email blast out, which I believe was very positive, but acknowledging where we are at right now. And I'm standing with that. I did that with my social media, but I just want to hear from you. What was last night like, or voting, whatever you want to share, get it off your chest. Pretty but local.
Well, I was at work when the voting and all that started to come in, and it was dead because who wants to be at a restaurant when this is happening? You want to be at home, you want to be with friends, you don't want to be out and having dinner or drinks out and about. So they let me go early, and immediately we were watching the results come in at work, and I was like, I'm gonna need a bottle of wine when I go home for sure. Right. So I picked up a bottle of wine. We sat and we just watched as the results came in, just like you. We went to bed around 12:30, so we didn't know in the morning what the results had been. I got up at 5 o'clock because I couldn't sleep. I had to go pee, all of these things, but I didn't look at any of the results. I just went to bed and I said to myself, if I look and it's bad, then I am going to spiral. So I decided not to look at 5 o'clock. And then the beautiful young man I was sleeping next to, he got up at 9, and then he told me, he was like, he won. And I was like, I wish you hadn't told me that.
Right.
Because now I really can't sleep and now I really have to get up. So yeah, it's
It was a
sad news.
it was a really long day because earlier my boyfriend had been sending me some memes. Some of them you probably all have heard. Today
Yeah.
feels like the whole country is waiting for an STD test results, which I thought was hilarious. He also sent me a grinder capture of somebody go into, like, what are you into? And somebody wrote voting. And then they wrote below that, and piss. Which
I
I
like
thought
that
was,
one. I saw that
I
one. I
like
thought it
that
was
one a lot.
hilarious
Yeah.
because you better have your kinks, boo, and be educated.
Exactly. Right. But it was one of those nail biting days. I'm really glad that it's over with, though, to be honest. And
Not me.
although
Can we go? Can we do it again? It didn't go.
it's
It didn't
just the
come out.
whole, because I think we have short term memory. We forget that this was supposed to be Biden and Trump,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then he stepped away, and then she only had 100 days, a little bit over 100 days to get, and which she did brilliantly, I feel, to
Yeah.
get
She
an
did amazing.
entire campaign together, raise all this money. She did brilliant. Within normally you would have had tons more time, way
Yeah.
more time than so. Given that, I think what my thought is, I wrote this in my email, is a lot of it had to do was, people just associated her with the Biden administration, and it's just going to be another 4 more years. I think the economy was something that they somehow think that Trump is the savior and that
Well,
life was so
how?
much better in 2019. And
How?
it's like he adopted it from Obama, by the way,
Yeah.
and it carried on. And then the pandemic happened, and then Biden took it over post pandemic, and prices were raised. It just is crazy to me to think that people think that he is this mastermind he's a millionaire, billionaire, whatever he is. He doesn't really care about the low man on the totem pole here, but
Yeah.
we're going to see. We are going to give him a
Yeah.
chance, but we are also going to keep our eye on the administration. And what I did say in my message today, in both my email and my social media, is that Tags Podcast is dedicated for the next 4 years. You got us at least for another 4 years, hopefully longer, but we are dedicated, because I was telling you offline, it's really easy to do it in easy times, but it's not as easy to have a platform when we are against something. And this is the time that art really needs to speak up. This is the time
Yeah.
when shows like us talk for marginalized communities. And this is the time that we really have to set forth and keep our eye on the administration. We are going to be dedicated to your health and well-being, because we know that things like maybe the Affordable Care Act can be threatened now. Transgender rights are definitely could be potentially be threatened, and we are going to be fighting the good fight for that. And then lastly, we are also going to be keeping you entertained, because it's really important during these periods to also have a sense of humor.
And
and
laugh.
and yes, it's a period in time. I said it in my email. Politics is a pendulum swing. We were on the left for a while. It's seemingly going the other direction, and we just have to keep our head up and fight the good fight.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm waiting to get to that point to where I am mobilized and ready to fight. I feel like I'm still kind of down now. I think that it's because I feel like the election, why she didn't win, she was rooted in misogyny and racism. So that's really affecting me. So I am waiting to have that turning point to where I can actually fight that good fight. Because, like you said, it's coming. And I'm taking this time right now in order to source myself and make sure that I am galvanized and I'm ready to get in there. And whatever curveball he throws our way, I'm going to be ready.
Absolutely. And that's our commitment from this show to you. We
Amen.
want to
I'm
hear from
committed.
you throughout, though, the evening too. How are people feeling, put it in the comment section. By the way, we are in front of a live virtual audience, as we are on every Wednesday. So I like that I'm seeing prepared to fight. Literally good. Everyone needs to fight. Hello, Alan, Bryce. I see some of you. Hello, hello, hello. Yes. And so with that, like I said, our promise is to keep fighting that good fight. There were some really positive messages out there that I wanted to read. One came from actress Jamie Lee Curtis, who we love. And Jamie said this: so the results are in. Many will be celebrating, possibly even gloating over their victory. Many will be stunned and sad with the terrible feelings of the loss. That is the same result despite who wins, because that's what America and democracy looks like, has always looked like. So what does it mean? It means a sure return to a more restrictive, some fear draconian time. Many fear their rights will be impeded and denied. Many minority groups and young people will be afraid. Gays and trans people, she says, will be more afraid. We know that many women will now find it difficult to get the reproductive health care that they need and deserve. And for all those people, there will be those who will help you, her included, Jamie Lee Curtis. But what it really means is that we wake up and fight for women and our children and their futures, and fight against tyranny, one day at a time, one fight at a time, one protest at a time. That's what it means to be an American. That's what it has always meant and will always, regardless of the outcome. Be gentle with people today. Be gentle with yourself today. Feel your feelings today, but most of all, be an American today. And she's speaking kind of to you in many ways, Kodi, because as you
definitely
said, you are licking your wounds and taking your time. And you know, you can lick them all the way into the end of the year, because he doesn't come into office until early January. And so we still have the rest of the administration to go.
The rest of the year. That's right.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm going to enjoy the holidays. I'm going to make sure that I am filled before I go out there and cause war, cause a riot, do everything you can in order to not go silently into the night.
Exactly. Somebody else that really, wow, on this one, it was a transgender TikToker who had a really important reminder of why to stay hopeful under Trump. I was so touched by this. It was by Lila Rayatos. She posted a video to remind her followers of how far she's come and what it means for living under the Trump presidency. She said, I am transgender, and I've spent all of my adult life wanting my life to be over, trying to make my life be over. She said that in a video, I've spent every waking moment of the past several years wishing that I'd never existed at all, or at least wishing for my existence to end. When I saw that Trump was winning, I came to a realization, which is that I was terrified, not just for my friends and family who will be affected most deeply by policies, but for myself, as there would be people empowered by this election who would want to hurt me. I already get called slurs outside of the car windows when I'm walking home from work. And then she goes on to say that I realized that I was scared for my safety. I was scared for losing my life. And I realized I want to live. I really want to live. And I've been on this mental health journey for a while. And I know that I wanted to live for a few months now, for about 6 months. I've been self-harm free. But today was really the kicker. I want to live. And she says, remember, if you are transgender, you have to live. It's the greatest form of protest we will ever have. Right. And I'm so happy that you're alive, and I'm really proud of you. And that is just like coming from a transgender who really, that community, I think, is going to be the one that we're going to have to really keep our eye on.
Yeah.
All of us, of course, under the acronym, all of us as humans, but I just feel that there's such a emphasis on the transgender community that is, I mean, there's such a small portion of our population that there's such hatreds towards them, and they're the ones that they're going to target first.
Yeah, it's really frightening. I'm just glad that this person has sent this message out. I've definitely been in that place before, to where I've had those thoughts. And the thing that kind of brought me out of it was when I was actually faced with something of that nature, and realizing that, oh, wow, I don't really want this. I really want to live. I really want to be able to spread joy and love and just go out there and see what the world holds. When you have that epiphany, it's like, it's better than breathing air. It's just amazing. So I'm glad they're putting this out there. I'm sure they're helping lots of people with that.
Absolutely. Let's keep things moving here. Well, one Redditor wrote, and I think we can all agree, how to handle what's happened. I think a lot of us, and there was one response that really resonated because they listed a lot of ways that you can respond to this just to keep your sanity and your mental health together. And they wrote, "You're not alone. I don't know that any professional counselor can say anything other than that, but here's some of the listings that they wrote that to handle what's going on right now. Only consume as much media as necessary." You know, I've been guilty of this where I just have it on in the background, but I'm kind of a news junkie and I know how to process it. I do it a lot for what we do here, but try not to have that news on all day long because it can only just really nitpick at you. Get outside is such a good one. Exercise in some other ways, like walking, is really important. We're going to be talking about somebody that had a brilliant idea a little bit later about just simply walking when you're on the apps, and we'll talk about it in a little while, but maybe incorporate that later. You'll know what we're talking about. Watch your alcohol intake. Yeah, that's a good one. We all have our vices. Spend time with friends and family who uplift you. Find those around you. Now's more the time ever that we need to have our chosen family, or family if they are really that supportive. I fortunately have that. Our lives will change, but still cannot predict the future. Take it one day at a time. That's the mentality of a lot of when you are even, like, I've heard people that are in recovery, one day at a time.
Yeah.
We talked about spend time with friends, download a meditation app, Calm. YouTube's got a lot. Accept when you need support and then seek it out. Hang on and ride the roller coaster. As a country, we're in this together. Those are some really great tips that I think
Definitely
in this time you can really look to. And it doesn't have to be as, did you say it's looking bleak, Kodi?
Yeah. Oh, because Malibu was saying that Trump has a VP who will be running for president next. He is more extreme than DT. The Senate has a Republican majority. The House appears to be a Republican majority. This is really a zinger. And the Supreme Court is now a political institution. We could realistically have 12 more years of this. And I said, yep, it's looking bleak in response.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears. Although, let's just read Alan, who came in. I guess what makes me sad and worried is that so many Americans have so little compassion for their fellow man. Yeah, that was really interesting because a friend of mine who's European messaged me today and said, "I don't understand the Americans. What's going on?" And I said, I know. Like, I'm not one of them, as she knows, but it was, and I think we will. The Democrats need to do a deeper dive, and I hate to say it, but I think a lot of people do perhaps have compassion. I've hung out with Trumpers or people that are going to vote for Trump in different parts of New York here. A lot of it really just had to do with that economy thing that, I do, like I said before, is kind of a farce because he inherited Obama's really good economy. And I think that's what they were really voting on at the end of the day, first and foremost. But we were gonna talk.
Can I say one thing really quick?
Yeah.
I think that that's all well and good. The economy is something that we should be focused on. I want a strong economy for sure. But for me, it's about them looking past the horrible things that this man has said. Latinos voted for Trump overwhelmingly, especially Latin men. It's ridiculous. And they call Donald Trump's administration called them trash, basically. Puerto Ricans or Latinos, all of this. So how can they look past all of these things in order to vote this person in? That is what really is mind blowing to me.
Because I think that a lot of them, I heard this earlier today, didn't think he was talking about them. He was talking about other.
Girl.
No, and
Yeah, I know. I get it.
and I will argue that we really didn't need to look at this party. That while these are all great issues that we need to care about, a lot of people are seeing this inflation that has been gone on. But the reality is that a lot of it's come from the pandemic and never
Yeah.
and subsided a little bit, but not really. And it had to do a lot with that. This is what a lot of people, it was the day to day, how do I get the bread and butter on the table to feed the family? And we're
Yeah.
talking about rural areas. A lot of these are all conservative that feel like nobody's ever spoken to them in parts of Georgia. And this is what they were writing on. And they didn't know enough about her. She was only in office for, or in the ticket for 100, a little over 100 days.
Mhm.
And that's what they were going for. And we need to do a better job as a party to toot our horn on the things that we did accomplish, because the Biden administration did accomplish a lot. And so
Yeah.
it's very nitty gritty with a lot of this stuff. And when it does come to nickel and diming and food on the table and families and rural areas, a lot of the empathetic things like are that we care about get pushed aside. So it's a little more complicated. We don't have time to get into it here. We're not a
Yeah.
political podcast, but I'm just saying it's complicated.
Oh
And
no, I
and we're
agree.
going to have
I
to do
agree.
a deep dive, look in the mirror for the party for, and we've got 4 years to do it. So
Two.
let's do that. Let's move on though, as well. Unless you have anything else. Let's talk about some positive news that did come out of yesterday. And one of
Yes.
them had to do with Sarah McBride, who won Delaware's House seat, becoming the first out transgender member of Congress. You heard me right. In all of this, we have a transgender member in the U.S. House of Representatives, y'all. And it was Sarah McBride out of Delaware. She beat John Whalen III by a majority, which is really exciting that we now have somebody that's transgender. The first ever. This is huge, right, Kodi?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, she was a senator for Delaware state in 2020. She made history as the first out trans person to serve in the White House during the Obama administration and the first to speak at a majority party's national convention in 2016. This is really cool because we need somebody on the front lines in the House of Representatives. It's going to be Sarah McBride. So when they get to issues that have to do with transgender, at least we have somebody of transgender in the front lines there. This gives me hope. And
Yeah.
we have to celebrate the positives that we want. I mean, the first ever transgender person in the U.S. House of Representatives. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Really.
100%.
I
Because
mean, you
you know
have
what?
to.
Yeah, we have to celebrate our wins because otherwise we will go absolutely insane, drowning in despair. So yes, good on Sarah for winning, and she's in the fight with us. So here we go. Let's get ready.
Right. Also, we wanted to shout out to Montana Rep, local state Montana, Zooey Zephyr, who won a re-election for the House floor, which is really great. Zooey, you may have seen her in the news last year where they didn't let her go into a court. She was banned from that. It was a whole story. You can look it up, but she's been re-elected for state Montana Rep. She re-won her seat, which is really cool too. So congratulations to her. So there was some good things happening.
Definitely.
During the day yesterday of election day, Kodi, there was a lot of gays on Twitter that were posting shirtless pics. That there was something like a meme, ordinary gay for Kamala, but they were like shirtless, and they didn't seem that ordinary to me. it didn't go that far because it didn't help her win, but it was a fun thing. If you looked it up, it was all over the internet as the day went on. But there was some left fielder posts that were going on, including from Reba McEntire, of all people. On election day, she decided to post seeing red. Mama, read the people were like, Mama, read the room, though. She posted pictures of herself with her red hair, long or short, she wrote. Either way, I love being a redhead. Hashtag National Redhead Day. So you probably don't know this, people, but I didn't know this at all. But yesterday was National Redhead Day. It falls on different days. It happened to fall on election day. And she posted this. But a lot of people were quick to point out that, wait a minute, is this a subtle note to people letting us know that she's for Trump because, red versus blue? Or was she just or was it really National Redhead Day and she was just showing like her hair and she loves being a redhead? And it was a little clueless because a lot of people were like, girl, like, leave it
Read
alone.
the room, sis.
No, yeah, not today.
Now is not the day.
We are biting our nails. No one cares about your hair today, somebody wrote. And somebody wrote, Mama, read the room.
Yeah, you know what's...
One laughing my ass off. Reba, not today, girl.
I love Reba. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt on this one. I was just looking at, I think it's Paramount Plus or something. She has a new show out. I forget what it's called. Yeah, so I was watching.
She's like a bartender. She owns a bar.
Holly, something, I don't know. Anyway, it looks cute. I was going to give it a watch. And then, this is kind of like what I've been doing all day. I was looking at Reba. I was like, is Reba a Trump supporter? I wonder how she voted because the demographics. So I've actually been looking at people all day and being like, right. I wonder what went down in their voting booth and that kind of thing. So, but I came to the conclusion that Reba's cool and she is definitely for the cause. So yeah, I love Reba.
I don't know. I was a little cringed out by it because I thought it's election day. So, for example, I'll just take myself as an example. I post every Wednesday for our live show, and I'm always shirtless. And I was telling you in our meeting earlier today that, will it seem inappropriate for me to be shirtless and promoting tonight's show? But I said, no, because I'm going to do a whole message on our commitment in social media post to, I'm still shirtless promoting tonight's show, but that our commitment for the show post-election to what I just said earlier in the show, that we are here for you and we are going to keep on keeping on and doing the good fight. So it wasn't read as tone deaf, I hope. But yeah. I think you got to be a little bit careful when you have a brand, when something like this is going on that's so affecting the world and at least the country and at least a portion of the country, that what you put out there can seem a little tone deaf. And I'm sure I was looking up stuff and I didn't see like people posting their normal paraphernalia, things that it was either related to the election or they just didn't post at all today, or you were still seeing remnants of yesterday's posting
those posts.
And
I think today go ahead.
No, go.
I think today is good for a pause. However, I think the right and all of those types of people that want to steal our joy are looking for us to not post and not be our normal selves. And I'm going to say, be as gay as you want, do all the gay things, make sure you're visible doing the gay things, make sure you're visible doing the Black things and the Latino things and the transgender things. Just make sure that you are out and visible, because they can't steal our joy at the end of the day. They can't.
Well stated. Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Moving on, this could be a sign of what we will be seeing more. And this is in Texas. A Texas law is targeting transgender people with $500 fines, 10,000 civil suits for using the bathroom. You heard me right. It's going to be a contentious Odessa City Council banned transgender individuals from using bathrooms, locker rooms, changing areas, showers, and other similar public facilities that align with their gender identity. Multiple media outlets reported this, and those who violate could have a Class C misdemeanor and receive a fine of, like I said, up to $500. And the ordinance also provides legal standing to alleged victims to sue for damages of up to $10,000 civil court. I feel like this is what we're going to kind of see a lot more. And this is just Texas, who's always been on this rampage but we're going to see a lot more of this. And it's such a small community, and this seems to be the emphasis, that protect the children, that transgender people somehow are luring, we're trying to like draw people in, and it's just so bullshit. I know
like
you laugh.
Pennywise?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's so bullshit. But when you hear this, and when you hear that this is being enacted now, and knowing where we're headed into this new administration, do you think we're going to see more of this?
Oh, definitely. What's coming down the pipeline is going to be more along these lines, I feel like, because I don't think that, first of all, they feel emboldened by what happened yesterday. So I think that they're only going to keep going, and that this is going to be par for the course. I really honestly don't understand the whole bathroom thing. I want to see the data on how many children or women were attacked by transgender people in the bathroom. It's probably more cisgender men that are attacking people in the bathroom. I remember one time I was in Baltimore, right? One time we were driving through Baltimore, my family, this is going to be really short. And my aunt went in the bathroom, and my uncle saw a man go in after her in a McDonald's or what have you. It was late at night. And he had to go in and physically pull the man away from my aunt. So that data I've seen firsthand. So I know that it happened.
Thank you.
I'm curious about what the data is on transgender people, because I bet it's non-existent.
And even if there is transgender people, they're going in, shutting the door, and going to the bathroom.
They're going to pee. They're not going in there to attack anybody.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
But I don't know about that man that went in there. I'm glad that you're. Yeah, that's a whole.
It was late at night too, and my uncle.
The case. It's always white men like that. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I did.
I think I don't remember his color, but it could be any man. Men. That's why the women pick the bear. They feel safer with the bear.
Oh my God. Well, let's switch gears here to somebody that I love.
Ranting and raving all night.
I know. We love Pedro Pascal on this show. We just adore him, and he's in a new film coming up, Gladiator 2. Surprisingly, I actually kind of want to see it, partly because of him, partly because of Denzel Washington, but it also has Paul Mescal in it as well. Well, recently in an interview promoting the film, it's all Italy and looks just really like they're all buffed out, right? And Pedro Pascal, who is 49, was talking about, because I watched the whole interview, and the interview was like, what was it like preparing for this role? You're all beefed up and you look great. And he said, and Paul Mescal is too. And this is what our lovely Pedro had to say. He said, I bet it was fun for him, meaning Paul Mescal, to get all trained for the film. Maybe it would have been fun for me too if I was 20 years younger. I was in no single directive from the movie to get in any kind of shape, but I did, mainly so that I wouldn't get hurt, and it didn't work. I got hurt anyway. I got stronger than I've ever been, just so that I can play the character really. I was snatched in the leather armor, and if you see the clips, he's really snatched. He looks so good. And we love him. I just love him so much.
Yeah, I love him.
He's like, it's a lot of fun, but I'm definitely getting to the point where I can't just wake up and do stuff like that. So I got ready for that. I used to be able to wake up and do that stuff, but things have changed. And so I knew I wanted to be able to do those things. I trained and rehearsed, obviously, a lot to be able to do it. And I can relate to this. I can really relate to it, especially after last week, where I was so immersed with Vakaya and working all week long on the Mexico resort. And I already started the week a little bit under the weather. And I saw my doctor before, and he's like, just take it easy. I tried my best. But then I like went into full throttle. I was in every class. I was in yoga. I was in salsa. I was working out. I was running the red light district. I was talking to everybody. I was having dinner. I was doing all this stuff. And by Friday, I showed up for the final tantric class by my good friend Will of Tantric Fitness, tantricfitness.com. He's been on this show before. And I was like, and we were supposed to be getting hard and working on multiple orgasms. And I'm like playing with my dick to work on and working. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so achy. And what's going on with me? I had pushed myself so hard that I was just like, my body was like, absolutely no, you are. And I had to really fake it till I made it till the rest of the weekend and I did, but wouldn't you know it, by the way, on Monday morning when I was in my bed here, I was just dead. I was dead. I'm way better now because my doctor told me you really need to rest or you're going to get worse. And it happens as you get older too. I mean, what you could do when you were in your 20s and 30s, and I would argue for me in my 40s, cannot do in my 50s anymore. And so Pedro at 49, I hear ya.
Me too. I can barely get up and go to the bathroom. I'm like wobbling.
Are we old men now?
You know what? We look good on the outside, but on the inside, I am an old man.
We just got to get our rest. We have to get our rest. We have to drink our
if
water.
You don't, this is Gatorade right here. So
I've been drinking so much Gatorade and soup.
Yeah, it's hydrating. Especially I was drinking yesterday, and I felt a little bit on the fritz this morning. So Gatorade for me for my electrolytes. And just take care of yourself. But back in the day, I could abuse this body and come out the next day shimmering and glistening, but not anymore, honey. I have to make sure that I do all the concoctions on me before I can get up and go move it around.
It's like you can do it because we keep ourselves in shape, but then we have to I feel like as you get a little bit older, and what Pedro's talking about is you have to be that much more diligent to then get your rest. And you have to be where maybe you could have eked by and not gotten so much. You have to be that much more diligent to take in your fluids. You have to diligent to
stretching is important too.
And I tried to sprint and pull them up. Yeah, it's just we're like in shape and trying to, but still and so I hear Pedro and I salute Pedro, and if Pedro anyway, let's move
on. This is a public.
I see a Diego in here.
So that's what I went to go look for him too. So there it is.
I did that on purpose, but okay. Let us move on to something that I saw that I felt brilliant, but it's so easy. Somebody wrote on an article, here's how to use Grindr, but you could substitute Scruff, Sniffies for the best cardio ever. And they wrote, the apps or Grindr has a few intended uses. You can find hookups, dates, idly chat, nights away while lying in bed. On a recent Reddit thread, though, someone had this brilliant idea. I found the best cardio ever, began the user, walk in the city until I find a hookup. So here's the deal. And it's so basic, you're going to be like, wait, what? Essentially, they found a way to solve two problems at once. Sitting at my house, there's always the same 20 guys on Grindr. We all know how that goes. I know for 10 years, I always wanted to work my cardio, but was too lazy. Basically, this person showers, puts some condoms and lube in their backpack if they're not on prep, right? Or maybe they just want to be safe and walk around the city. I choose a different route every time, and I'm constantly checking and updating my position on Grindr. I tap some people from time to time until I find someone. It might sound silly, but according to the user, it worked every single time. It usually takes up like about an hour to get far enough to where this person lives to when they start receiving messages and taps from the guys looking to hook up. It even happened too if it even happens too quickly because I wouldn't want to walk more. Or if it happens too quickly, I think they keep walking more. The strategy does come with some conditions where, say, the guy has to be able to host, and it's easier when you tap and don't have to douche. Also, you should dress properly so you don't sweat like a pig. There's different things.
Some people are into that, though.
With everybody with their Apple Watches, with everyone trying to get steps in, it just makes so much more sense. I don't do the apps. I've never done the apps. I don't need to anymore. But the idea, this is what I would have done in the past. And I feel like I've seen people before where I've looked at guys and you can tell they're gay. I can tell they're gay. I can tell they're like on their phone. They're so focused and they're looking up at like apartment buildings. And I think they're doing that. They're walking in different neighborhoods, getting their steps in, and then they're lingering around, and they're not looking up at anybody that's walking around them. They're looking up at like apartment buildings because, say, they found ding, 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 Vegas jackpot. Yeah. And I think this is the way to do it too, because it's just, at a certain point, you've done all the guys, hopefully, in your neighborhood, and it's time to expand.
I mean, if you run out of milk at home, you got to go to your neighbor's house, right? I think this is brilliant. I think this is great. I think it's a good way to get your steps in. I honestly do this on the train, or I used to do this on the train a lot. Whenever I would get into a new neighborhood, I would open up my Grindr and see what was available around me, because like this person was saying,
you make it sound like what food's available around me that I can order?
You're shopping. It's literally shopping on your phone. But it's great because when you are in a new area, I know everybody has had this experience. When you're fresh meat in an area on Grindr, your Grindr is blowing up. So this is a good way to have that experience and get your steps in. So I think it's great. Instead of duck hunting, you go dick hunting out there in the world. So keep it moving. It's like Pokemon Go. Got to catch them all.
Yes. And in cities, it's really great to do. You get to know probably. Also, when I walk around the city a lot. Mostly, I either take the subway or I walk, and I often take different streets because I want to see. In New York here, there's always a new restaurant opening, and I'm always into what's that. So I take pictures of it, and then I look it up later. But so I could do that if I was doing this, and then I could look at that. But it's also a good travel thing as well. If you're solo traveling, this would be a great way to just get lost in a city, turn that on, and go to various neighborhood after neighborhood. I mean,
and it's a new way to explore the city too, because you can explore it in the city and you can explore it face down in somebody's pillow on their bed.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, we want to, maybe you could put this link about Squirrel Dad. I don't know if you guys have heard of Squirrel Dad, but he's become really popular on Twitter because he has domesticated in many ways a squirrel, taken it in. His name is Mark Longo, and he lives here in New York, actually. He has thousands of TikTok followers with his unusual pet, that of a squirrel. And he has had it for years, and the squirrel jumps on him and he throws the squirrel, and you just got to see it. It's super cute, and all of that was great and he's an animal lover, and all of that was great until somebody like a Karen decided to call the authorities on him and essentially turn him in. And by the way, the squirrel's name is Peanut. And and so this Karen person decided to call on him, and all of these authorities claims he was treated like a terrorist when environmental conservation and health spent about 5 hours raiding his home. And I watched a separate interview with him. They went 5 hours for having, I mean, technically you're not supposed to have a wild animal like that in your but it literally, that's all he was doing. He had trained.
The squirrel was domesticated.
It's
right. Trained.
Yeah. And he had this squirrel, and they tore apart his apartment, Kodi. Like trashed it. And so here's the thing that people didn't really realize that we're following Squirrel Dad and Peanut is that he has an OnlyFans. He does a lot of it solo. He does a lot of it with his girlfriend. And they think maybe some of these authorities, you know, because, hey, heaven forbid you have sex, you do any kind of sex work, which is really demonized, I would argue, in this country, believe me, that they came for him for that. 5 hours going through his, as if he was like a domestic terrorist in any way. And it's like, please, he domesticated this squirrel. That's all he did. He has an OnlyFans account to make extra money. His words. That's it. And it's kind of crazy, but what we didn't know is, ooh, look at him. And can you put that in the chat? Can you put it in the chat?
I put it.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I will put this on TAGSPodcast.com, reference episode 615, but I now know why people would want to also follow. People didn't know that he had an OnlyFans, but he's so sexy and hot that now the thing is, most of the money that he got from his OnlyFans, he donated that to various organizations because he's all about animal rights and all that too. But now I think it's going to like rack up he's going to be pursuing, he has a lawyer because the way he was treated was just so, there's no answers to why they came down on him so hard like this. And it's just ridiculous. But what did you think when you saw the pictures of our daddies?
Hey, Squirrel Dad, I want to climb that tree and suck on those nuts.
Squirrel friend. I know.
Yeah, he's very sexy. I was kind of disappointed when you said he had a girlfriend because I was going to actually subscribe to his OnlyFans, but
he seems really like
he's a beautiful human being, I feel like. So
he really is.
Yeah.
A sensitive soul, a beautiful man.
Yes.
So
inside and out.
It was kind of like the story that was happening around election period that really took over. That was kind of crazy. And okay, let's stick to some good news here because there's a story of India of all places, and this should give us hope. India's first gay prince and his husband proved that love can break barriers. And I'm talking about, there's actual royals, queer royals, which is really great. I am talking about Prince Manavendra Singh Gohil and Prince DeAndre Richardson that have been married over 10 years. And the prince is the first openly gay prince of India, and his American husband, and they just wrote a new book. And the little quick history lesson is that Prince Mavendra is a scion of the Gohil Rajput dynasty, rulers of the former kingdom of Rajpila on the Indian subcontinent from approximately 1340 to 1948, and his family governed a large swath of land, witnessing the onset of the Mughals in the medieval period of British imperialism. So that just gives you a little bit of backdrop. They don't reign anymore, but following a brief arranged marriage in the early 90s, Bhavendra came out in an interview in 2005 by none other than Oprah Winfrey. And he decided to then share recently his marriage, and it isn't accepted by India at all. He still is considered a prince, and he is putting it out there. And I think he is such an example of where we might be headed, that even in times like this, look at India, and we have to fight and put ourselves out there, like you were saying earlier. What did you think when you heard of India's first gay prince and his husband, and how they've just celebrated 10 years?
Well, first, I'm mad that DeAndre beat me to becoming a prince, because
Okay.
I could have been a prince in India. I don't understand how DeAndre got it. And can we talk? I hate to stereotype like this, but DeAndre is a white man. So just so everybody knows,
From Washington State.
yes,
Absolutely.
I thought that was DeAndre Richardson. Does not sound like a white man's name. I'm sorry. I hate to be like reductive or anything, but to me it does not.
He's not. I mean, I don't think it was the prince chose who he wanted to marry.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just commenting on his name. I just think that they're both beautiful people, but it just kind of struck me that was Doggette. It could have been me. But this is a beautiful love story. This is making my heart so warm, and it's giving me hope, because if they can thrive in India, which is a very straight-laced society from my point of view,
Yes.
I think that anybody can thrive anywhere, and it seems like we're going to be. I can't predict the future, but to me, it looks like we're going to be in a society that's more attuned to what India is. So that it should only give us more hope and more, just more hope for living in the world that we're going to be living in.
100% agreed. Absolutely. You know, one story that we were talking about recently on episode 614 had to do with Jason Kelce, you know, Travis Kelce's brother, Travis, of course, with Taylor Swift, where if you don't know the story, he was at a game, a college football game, and was walking through, and somebody called out hey, how does it feel that your brother, he called him the gay slur, F word, dating Taylor Swift. And in which case, Jason then grabbed the guy's phone, smashed it, and used that same gay slur to the guy. How does it feel to be that F word 3 times, and said it to his face? Well, we talked about it extensively. You can listen to it on episode 614, our thoughts on it. But essentially, Jason has apologized that it was an unfortunate, and he wished that it didn't escalate that way, and that he didn't say that homophobic slur several times. His brother on the podcast was actually giving him some grace. You were in the moment. It didn't really matter. But I mean, I don't think the brother understood the brevity that Jason really does now, that saying that word is just not, you know, we don't say that word anymore.
Acceptable. Yeah.
And I take his apology for what it's worth. And what did you think when you heard this?
I mean, I take his apology. I'm glad that he apologized, because some people wouldn't apologize. So I'm glad that he apologized. I'm still watching him though. I'm still, you know, making sure that he didn't say it out of not just anger, but out of some clear disdain for gay people. And I'm still on the fence as far as he's concerned, but I'm glad he apologized, because it takes a big man to apologize.
Got it. Okay, well, it's time to give some advice before we round out this show. And did you have one you liked a little bit more than the other? Just to get your feedback.
I like.
And do you mind reading it? I've been reading so much.
What do you think about Shamed by a Man in His Mid-50s?
Love it.
Because you said I had to read it, so that's the shorter one. So
hey, I asked you, you choose what you choose. You choose why. Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous, darling. So
take
this
my
man was
glasses off and relax,
sit back,
sit back,
have a
and
drink,
think
do
about
some
my
knitting.
advice. Yeah, let me have my. Okay, go ahead, Kodi.
All right, darling. So shamed by a man in his mid-50s. I, who am in my 30s, was hooking up with an older man who's in his mid-50s, who stayed rock hard the whole time, and even after he came. He was immediately ready for a second round, but I could not get hard again. He pretty much shamed me for it, shook his head, tisk, 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 and this person had never been shamed like that to their face and over something so natural. It left them baffled. We can all agree his reaction was awful, but I want to know, how likely is it for a man in his mid 50s to be able to stay rock hard during sex and stay hard for a second round with no downtime, with no help from drugs or medication? Steve,
Not
what
that
is your
likely.
opinion? Simple answer. We're done.
Please. I think it was that guy, the 50-year-old one, was clearly on Viagra.
Clearly.
And yes, I just came from a seminar, Will Tantra, of Tantric Fitness in Mexico, that having multiple orgasms. And the way to have multiple orgasms is there's a refractory. So normally you work up, and you're tightening that P shot muscle, that P muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't the way you can have an orgasm with you don't really, so that you feel it coming up, but you stop it. You have the orgasm and you never release any fluids, correct? When you do that, you don't have a refractory period, meaning that period. So normally when you come, it's like, woo, that was amazing. I'm done. Let's go eat. I'm done with you or whatever. And I'm out. But if you don't release it and you tighten that, you can then go back again. There's no refractory period. And then you could get horny and hard again and go back again. And you could keep doing that as long as you want until you're ready to finally release. And so this situation was a guy that came and he was still hard and maybe he did come, but ridiculous to put that onto somebody and to say, it's just like, seriously, you took a pill, dude.
Yeah. So especially like you said, when they're so clearly
somebody and shame people like that, fuck off is what I have to say.
Guy's an asshole.
So the guy needs to,
Me personally, I could, even in my 40s, I can still get it up after round one. I can get it up for round two. But
we can all do it, like if we just lied there for a while.
Yeah, after like 10 minutes.
Pillow talk and all that. Yeah. I'm just to be clear, the thing I was talking about with Tantra is if you don't have that release, you could actually then go again because it's the release that then sends a whole reaction to your brain. Yeah. And so it's that whole thing. But yes, you could also relax a little bit and then be like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, and I think that that's totally acceptable. You know what? It's also totally acceptable for this person to be able to only go one round. So you shouldn't feel shamed. This man was clearly on Viagra or Cialis. I read in the comments also that it stays in your system for a couple days. So he could have taken it 2 days before, and it still would have worked. So I think that this person was an asshole. And as you get older, I've noticed personally that I can't stay hard as long as I used to be able to, and that the refractory period time that you were talking about is a little bit longer than it used to be, because I used to be able to pop them out for sure. But
we'll talk more about that on upcoming shows, and we'll have Will back on.
Oh, I love that.
But if somebody said to me like tisk like that, I said, no, don't get it twisted. It wasn't all that. I need to move on and find somebody else that's better than you, motherfucker.
I'd probably say, let's go get a drug test, sir.
Oh, yeah. Motherfucker. Don't even. Anyways, on this post-election day, take care of yourself, everybody. It's going to be okay. Stick with us, kid. You're going to be okay. And
Got
you
your
can
back.
always, yeah, we got your backs. And then you can always follow Kodi on the gram at Mr. Maurice. Go to Indiegogo, where he has an EP out right now, and you just look for Kodi Maurice.
Maurice EP2, yes.
Yeah, or go to show notes. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. Or go to my Twitter account where you get a preview of my Just for Fans or Only Fans at TAGSPodcast. And guys, take care of yourself. We will be okay. In the meantime, continue having hot,
Hot,
gay
gay,
sex.
sex.